Hello everyone, welcome to my channel RPG Retro Reviews. I'm Captain Courageous and I review old school modules and games and talk about how you might use them in your current campaigns. This week, I'm reviewing another OSR clone, Old School Essentials. This is the latest iteration of what was formerly known as BX Essential from Gavin Norman and Necrotic Gnome games, but has been greatly expanded and updated after a massively successful Kickstarter in April. I'd like to compliment Gavin Norman on one of the best organized and fastest delivered Kickstarters I've ever participated in, and now I'd like to share with all of you the fruits of his labor. So let's get started. Last year, I reviewed the original BX Essentials. For those who don't know, the game is a re-expression of the original Moldvay Cook Basic and Expert sets from 1981. What sets this rule set apart from other clones that also reference that material is that it was a direct reimagining of the rules. No changes to the rules have been made. However, what was done was that rules ambiguities, conflicts, and errata from those rules were cleaned up and given a unique rules expression that strove to eliminate text walls. The rules are presented in a bullet point format that neatly and cleanly tells the reader the game information in a concise and clear manner. This makes the game easy to learn and super easy to use as a reference during play. Furthermore, the rules are split up in a pamphlet-like format. There's a pamphlet for the core rules, the character classes, the monsters, the spells, and the treasures. This is excellent for in-play use, as one player can look up the spells while another can be looking at a book for equipment and so on. When I initially reviewed BX Essentials, my conclusion was that I thought it was very good, but I felt that it was not very newbie-friendly, in that a lot of concepts were not fully explained and assumed foreknowledge by the reader. While that might have been good for the grognards coming to the game, who were familiar with Moldvay Cook or D&D in general, I thought that it limited the game's potential for wider appeal and perhaps had a weakness in its cost for the printed version, though in the pamphlet format it's ripe for self-printing from a PDF. In April of 2019, Necrotic Gnome began a Kickstarter to update the rule set to Old School Essentials. This update proposed to pretty much fix the issues I had with the rules and more. The goal of that Kickstarter was $15,000 and was funded in under 2 hours and would go on to raise over $160,000. Unlocking all stretch goals and becoming one of the most successful OSR Kickstarters to date. Clearly, the OSR community is alive and well. The PDFs were released a few months ago and I've enjoyed looking over them and was already impressed by what I saw. Then came the Game Master screen, which is laid out here in all its glory. It's a 4-panel cardstock art piece for the front, with another set of cardstock for the interior of the screen, and meant to be used with a universal style GM screen like this one at Drive-Thru RPG. Then, in record time, I got my physical copy of the rules in the mail on November 22nd. So, let's open up this box and review the fruits of Gavin Norman's labors. As you can see, this is really a beautiful rules set. The box is gorgeous and plenty deep, with room for more booklets you might add in the future. The rules are broken up into 5 hardbound booklets. Now, there was an option for a hardbound all-in-one rules tome, but I really liked the idea of a boxed set, so I opted for that. Also note that I got the Hole in the Oak adventure to go with this as a stretch goal bonus as well, as part of the Kickstarter. I'll get to that in a moment. As with BX Essentials, the rules are given the same format, with the booklets each representing an aspect of the rules. The little nit that I have with the hardbound books is that they are a bit challenging to get to just sit open on the table. However, they are thread stitched bound, so you can bend them back and press down, and they will sit open for you, and you won't damage them by doing so. This is some top-notch binding here. Starting with the core rules booklet, you can see that the game now has a nice introduction section that talks about role-playing and gives some suggestions to the neophyte, but in typical Necrotic Gnome style, presents everything in its essential bulletproof format. The terminology section talks about dice notation, basic gaming terminology, and what to expect with adventure gaming. Everything a new player needs to know to understand the game and how to use the rules as laid out in a clear and concise manner. Let's also stop a moment just to mention the amazingly professional layout, the color schemes, the editing, page layouts, and on and on. A lot of game companies could take a few lessons on rule design from what Norman has done here. The modular format of the rules allows the user to mix and match, so you could theoretically use the core rules and then swap out the genre rules and play a sci-fi game or really anything else you can imagine. Old School Essentials still retains its compatibility with the Moldvay Cook rules set of Dungeons & Dragons, but the errors and sometimes confusing language from previous editions have not been lavishly reproduced as some OSR rule sets have done. Mistakes have been corrected and everything is focused with an eye towards playability. For those interested in such things, the changes and clarifications that were made are detailed at necroticgnome.com. Furthermore, given its subject matter, you could use these rules with other OSR rule sets such as Blue Home, Swords and Wizardry, and Labyrinth Lord. Text walls are avoided in this rule set. Every topic is given a major heading and then a paragraph that succinctly and clearly explains the topic at hand. One major difference from the older rule set is the addition of a few optional rules that allows the user to tweak the game to their tastes. For example, an optional rule for using ascending armor class is now available as opposed to the more traditional descending AC and THAC0. The user can choose the option that suits their playstyle best. Now, I'm not really going to go chapter by chapter in this review as I don't feel that's necessary, but I want to give you a snapshot of a few pages just so you can see what I'm talking about in regards to just how clear and easy it is to use these rules. For example, character creation and monsters, the spell lists, magic items, and class explanations. Now, let's talk about artwork for a moment. Lots and lots of great old school artwork is presented here. All of it top-notch, most of it imported from the original BX Essentials rules, but a lot of it is new for this rule set. But what really blew me away were the dual page layouts, which you can see here and here. And this is what it looks like in the booklets. Really beautiful fantasy art that stirs the imagination and makes you want to play the game. Now let's talk about options. The big benefit of having such a successful Kickstarter is the addition of the advanced rules that emulate the advanced Dungeons & Dragons style of play. I love how this was done, very reminiscent of how Advanced Labyrinth Lord was done. It's distinctive and unique in several ways, however. The first obvious way is the Necrotic Gnome format of bullet points as opposed to text walls. There are two booklets for the advanced rules so far, the Advanced Fantasy Genre Rules and the Advanced Fantasy Druid and Illusionist Spell booklets. This adds 9 more playable classes: Acrobat, Assassin, Barbarian, Bard, Druid, Illusionist, Knight, which is basically the Cavalier, Paladin, and Ranger, and 6 more playable races: Drow, Drugar, Gnome, half-elf, half-orc, and Surfneblin. It gives the advanced option to split up races and classes, or to continue to use race as a class, whichever style you prefer. The spells booklet adds over 100 spells to the game. The advanced rules really deserve a video of their own, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on them here, but suffice to say they are well done and worth checking out. The Hole in the Oak is a classic starter adventure and is the Keep on the Borderlands of this rule set. Here's a peek at the map, and as you can see, it's very well done. Of course, like everything else with this rule set, the room descriptions are concise and bullet-pointed, giving the referee easy and quick access to the pertinent information for each encounter without having to slog through blocks of text, which makes preparing and running this adventure a snap, and it's just a great adventure in the old school style overall. So let's use my D20 review scale and take a look at old school essentials for presentation, style, and value. Presentation-wise, this rule set is a home run. Well organized, well presented, clear, concise, and easy to find rules. The table of contents is very detailed in booklet format. Finding a rule is relatively easy and clean, especially if you're looking for a specific spell, monster, or magic item. Given this, the need for an index isn't as demanding as other rule sets, though it certainly would have been useful to have one, especially when looking for specific rules, say on how saving throws work, or what happens to a character when they reach 0 hit points, and so on. As it is, you'll have to refer to the general headings in the table of contents, which can be a frustrating hit or miss affair. Rules designers. Anytime you are making a set of rules and you get it in your head that, oh, these are well organized, I don't need an index, stop that thought right there and just put in an index. No exceptions. You've done a lot of wonderful work. Now finish it off and just add the index. Oh, no exceptions to the index rule. I'm sorry. From this point forward, any rules that I review and they don't have an index, it's automatic -1. I don't care how good I love it or whatever it is. If you don't put an index, -1 on the rule set. So I'm going to have to knock 1 point off for that and give this a 19, even though I really want to give it a 20. Style-wise, this is pretty pitch perfect. The old school artwork is some of the best I've seen, and the full page spreads are just gorgeous. So I'm just going to give this a style rating of 20 because it's well earned. Let's look at value. To purchase the PDFs on Drive-Thru RPG right now, they're only $5.70 a piece, which means you could pick up all the rules booklets, including the 2 advanced books, for only $30, or the complete rules tome for only $13.99. The booklets are easily pamphlet printed at home, or if print is your thing, you can get the black box like I have for $60 and the full rules tome for $39 from Necrotic Gnome website directly. All print options give you the PDFs as well. Either one is a great value, and given the sale for the PDFs on Drive-Thru RPG, it's an easy natural 20. So the overall rating for Old School Essentials comes in at a 19, which is amazing. Great job, Gavin, on giving the old school community a fantastic rules set that not only us grognards can enjoy, but also one that can draw in new players as well, which will hopefully keep the community going for years or decades more to come. I've got my City of Brass Part 2 review coming up later this week, as well as some old school surprises for you, so please don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell so you can get notifications when I upload more content. Like, comment, and share. Join the RPG Retro Review Facebook group, and consider supporting the channel by becoming a Patreon. As always, my friends, may your D20 roll true, and game on.